Pretend I'm arresting you. Don't speak. Don't look back. And whatever you do, don't call your son." The words were pressed into my ear in a low whisper as a hard hand clamped around my arm. For a moment, I genuinely thought my heart had failed. 1 second I was standing inside Terminal 5 at JFK International Airport, staring up at a departure board blinking destinations I had never visited. The next, I was being shoved sideways into a concrete pillar by a man in a Navy immigration jacket, his grip tight enough to bruise bone. People gasped. Someone shouted. Phones came out. "Sir, stop resisting!" The agent barked loudly for the crowd, but his mouth was inches from my ear again, his voice suddenly calm and deadly serious. "You are not under arrest. This is the only way you walk out of here alive." My arms were twisted behind my back, cold metal cuffs snapping shut around my wrists. The sound echoed in my skull. I stumbled as he shoved me forward, guiding me toward a restricted door marked "Authorized Personnel Only." My mind scrambled for logic, mistake, identity theft, security drill. I had spent 40 years working compliance and risk mitigation for global banks. I lived in logic. Men like me did not get dragged away at airports. Instinctively, I turned my head. I looked for my son. Evan Monroe was standing less than 15 feet away, holding both our passports. My only child, 50 years old, well-dressed, successful on paper, a corporate attorney who spoke fluently in contracts and loopholes. For a brief, foolish moment, relief flooded my chest. Thank God, I thought. He's here. He'll fix this. I expected panic. I expected him to shout my name, to rush forward, to demand answers. Instead, he checked his watch. Then he exhaled, not sharply, not anxiously, relieved. He slipped his phone from his pocket and began typing, unhurried, calm, as if this moment had been scheduled. I twisted again, desperate now, my chest tight, my heart pounding hard enough to hurt. Evan didn't look up. The last thing I saw before the security door slammed shut was my son's mouth curling into something that wasn't quite a smile. Something colder. Something satisfied. They marched me through narrow gray corridors that smelled of disinfectant and old coffee. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead. Every step took me farther from the noise of the terminal and deeper into silence. I told myself this would be cleared up. Evan would call someone. Evan always fixed things. The look I saw had to be nerves, a trick of the light. I clung to that lie because the truth was too heavy to carry. They shoved me into a small interrogation room and locked the door. The agent removed my cuffs and studied me with eyes that had seen too much. "My name is Agent Ruiz," he said quietly. "Department of Homeland Security." I rubbed my wrists, pain blooming where the metal had bitten. "You dragged me away in front of hundreds of people," I snapped. "My son is outside. I demand an explanation." Ruiz didn't argue. He reached into his jacket and placed an orange prescription bottle on the table. My prescription bottle. My heart medication. "I take 1 pill every morning," I said. "I've taken it for 12 years. "I know," Ruiz replied. "Your son made sure of that." My stomach tightened. He opened the bottle, poured a white tablet into a clear testing vial, and snapped it shut. The liquid stayed clear for a moment, then it bloomed into a dark, violent purple. My hands began to shake. "Carfentanil," Ruiz said calmly, "microdosed, mixed with a sedative, enough to stop your breathing without obvious trauma." "That's impossible," I whispered. "Evan picked that up from the pharmacy." "Yes," Ruiz said. "He did." The memory hit me hard. Evan standing in my kitchen that morning, smiling, handing me the bottle. "Dad, take it on the plane. It'll help you sleep. You need rest." Ruiz slid another document across the table. A flight itinerary. I put on my glasses. The destination wasn't Costa Rica like Evan had told me. It was a small, underdeveloped airstrip near the southern border, a place known for one thing: deaths that didn't get investigated properly. The return flight field was blank. One way, Ruiz said softly. Your son has a return ticket. Tomorrow night. The plan assembled itself in my mind with terrifying clarity. Board the plane, take the pill, fall unconscious, land, die quietly. Evan would play the grieving son. No autopsy, no questions. Why? I choked out. I just transferred money into his firm last week. He asked for help. Ruiz sighed. Debt, offshore accounts, gambling losses tied to your daughter-in-law. They didn't want help anymore. They wanted everything. My daughter-in-law, Lena, the woman who hugged me at holidays, who asked about my health with rehearsed concern. I thought she was distant. I didn't realize she was calculating my expiration date. Ruiz turned a monitor toward me. Live footage from the terminal. Evan was on a video call, laughing softly, holding my carry-on bag like a trophy. He nodded, smiled, celebrated. Something inside me broke then, but it wasn't my heart. It was the blindfold. You can't confront him, Ruiz said. If you do, he lawyers up, claims confusion, walks free, and next time, we won't be there. Then what do I do? I asked. Ruiz leaned closer, his voice dropping. We let him believe you're gone. I stared at the screen, at the stranger wearing my son's face. I spent 40 years finding cracks in systems, I said quietly, teaching institutions how to survive betrayal. Ruiz's mouth twitched. Then you understand. Yes, I said. When someone thinks they've won, they get sloppy. I straightened my back. Let him think I'm finished. As Ruiz led me out through a rear exit into the cold night air, I realized I wasn't going on a vacation. I was stepping into the darkest audit of my life. And by the time it was done, the people who tried to erase me would learn a lesson every system eventually teaches. You never demolish a structure while the architect is still alive inside it. They didn't take me to a jail. They took me underground. The van rolled silently beneath the city, concrete walls flashing past narrow windows as if I were being swallowed by the infrastructure I once spent my life auditing. Agent Ruiz sat across from me, saying nothing, letting the weight of what I'd just learned settle into my bones. Shock has stages. Denial burns fast. Anger simmers slowly. But betrayal freezes you. My hands were no longer shaking. That scared me more than anything. The van stopped in a private garage beneath a nondescript building. The doors slid open, and cold air hit my face. I stepped out, steady on my feet, feeling older and sharper at the same time. Waiting for me was a man I hadn't seen in nearly 10 years. Martin Hale, my attorney, my executor, my oldest friend. He didn't say hello. He didn't ask questions. He pulled me into a hug that smelled like old books and black coffee. Jesus, Caleb, he muttered. You look like hell. I feel worse, I replied. Inside his office, floor-to-ceiling windows looked out over Manhattan like a god's-eye view of the systems I used to dissect for a living. Martin poured me water. I didn't touch it. They think I'm gone, I said. Martin nodded. Good, because they're already moving. He opened his laptop and turned it toward me. My house. The living room camera feed flickered to life. Boxes stacked by the door. Furniture shifted. My wife's curtains gone. They hadn't even waited 3 hours. My son wasn't mourning. He was reorganizing. Then Lena walked into frame. She was wearing my late wife's robe. I felt something in my chest tear. She poured wine into one of our crystal glasses, laughing as she kicked aside a framed photograph on the coffee table. Evan sat beside her, scrolling on his phone, relaxed now. Safe. Turn on the sound, I whispered. Martin did. To freedom, Lena said, lifting the glass. And finally getting rid of the old man. Evan hesitated, just for a second. Then he clinked his glass against hers. I still can't believe it worked, he said. The airport part, I thought he'd panic. He always trusted you, Lena replied smoothly. That was the easiest part. My fingers dug into the arm of the chair. They weren't grieving. They were celebrating. Lena crossed the room, stopped in front of the mantel, and picked up my wife's portrait. She tilted her head, studying it with mock curiosity. "She always looked like she knew," Lena said, "like she saw through me." She smiled. "Good thing she's dead." Then she tossed the frame into the fireplace. The glass cracked. Flames licked the photo. My wife's face blackened, warped, and vanished into ash. Evan didn't stop her. Something went cold inside me. Not anger, not sadness. Resolve. I leaned back slowly, my voice calm when I spoke. "They think they're free." Martin nodded. "They also think they're rich." I looked at him. "What do you mean?" He pulled up another screen. Banking records. My accounts. "They initiated a transfer using the power of attorney you signed years ago, liquidating everything." I remembered that signature. After my wife died. After I feared losing my mind one day. I trusted my son. "They'll clear it by morning," Martin said. "Unless," I smiled faintly, "unless the system does exactly what it was designed to do." Martin raised an eyebrow. I leaned forward. "Let it go through." He stared at me. "Caleb, that's millions." "No," I corrected. "It's bait. People do reckless things when they think money has already landed." And right on cue, Lena's phone buzzed on the screen. She answered it, grinning. "Yes," she laughed. "We're finally liquid." She hung up and grabbed her purse. "Where are you going?" Evan asked. "The yacht club," she replied. "I'm done dreaming. I'm buying." I closed my eyes. "She's about to spend money she doesn't actually have," I said. Martin exhaled slowly. "That's a crime." "No," I said. "That's a mistake. And mistakes leave fingerprints." Hours later, the feed switched to the marina. Lena sat across from a broker, glossy brochures spread across the table. She didn't read the contract. She barely glanced at the penalty clauses. She signed, 10% down, 30% penalty on default. She didn't hesitate. The moment the pen left the paper, Martin let out a low whistle. "She just ruined herself." I nodded. "And she doesn't even know it yet." But then my phone buzzed. Another alert. Motion detected at home. Not Evan, not Lena. 2 men, tool bags, drills, safe crackers. "They're going for the wall," Martin said quietly. "The hidden safe in my study, the one Evan had known about since he was a teenager, the one he thought held everything." I stood. "Let them." Martin turned sharply. "Caleb, I want them to open it," I said. "I want them to see what's inside. Because what I left there wasn't money. It was a mirror." I watched them drill through the oak paneling I had installed with my own hands decades earlier. Lena stood behind them, impatient, arms crossed. When the safe finally opened, she lunged forward, empty. Just a single envelope. Evan recognized my handwriting immediately. His hands shook as he opened it. I watched him read. I watched his face collapse. He dropped into my chair and sobbed. Lena ripped the letter from his hands and tore it apart. "Sentimental garbage," she snapped. "He's gone." But Evan knew. He had always known. That was when my phone buzzed again. Another notification. Someone else had initiated a transfer. Not Evan, not Lena. Someone closer. Someone I trusted even more. I stared at the screen as the truth settled deeper than any betrayal before it. This wasn't just my son. This was a coordinated demolition. And I was standing inside the structure, still alive, still watching, and now, fully awake. The night swallowed me quietly. I sat in the back of an unmarked van watching the city slide past tinted glass. My reflection faint in the window, older than I remembered but sharper too. Agent Ruiz sat across from me, tapping at a tablet, his face lit by shifting maps and data feeds. No one spoke. Silence was safer. Silence gave the truth room to breathe. We didn't go far. A safe apartment above a closed medical office. Clean, anonymous, temporary. Ruiz handed me a burner phone and took my real one. "To the world," he said, "Caleb Monroe no longer exists." I nodded, but ghosts can still watch. Martin joined us an hour later, coat dusted with snow, eyes already tired. He didn't waste time. "They're accelerating," he said. "Your son filed emergency motions using the power of attorney. He's claiming you're detained and non-responsive." I smiled faintly. "Of course he is." He pulled up the live feed again. My house. Lights on in every room, drawers open, closets ransacked, Evan pacing like a caged animal, phone glued to his ear. Lena was calmer. Too calm. She sat at my desk in the study, legs crossed, scrolling through documents like she owned the place. She always wanted control. Evan just wanted relief. "Turn the sound up," I said. Martin did. "The transfer still says pending," Evan snapped. "Why is it taking so long?" Lena didn't look up. "Because banks like to feel important. It'll clear." "What if it doesn't?" She finally looked at him then, her eyes cold. "It will. Or we move on to phase 2. Phase 2. I felt something settle into place. They weren't improvising. They had rehearsed this. Evan rubbed his face. "I don't like this." "You didn't like debt either," Lena replied, "but you enjoyed the lifestyle." She stood, walked toward the study wall and tapped it twice. "The safe," she said. "If he hid anything, it's there." Evan hesitated. "Dad built that wall himself." "So?" she snapped. "He's gone." The words echoed through the room. Gone. I watched 2 hired men arrive 30 minutes later carrying drills and acoustic sensors. Professionals, expensive ones. They didn't ask questions. They measured, marked, drilled. The sound cut into me sharper than I expected, not because of the money, because I built that wall with my own hands. Evan had been 12, handing me nails, asking questions. I taught him patience there, precision, respect for foundations. Lena watched the destruction without flinching. I leaned back, breathing slowly. "Now," I said quietly. Ruiz looked at me. "You're sure?" "Yes." I took the tablet from him and opened the smart home system. The house was efficient, integrated. I designed it that way years ago. I slid the thermostat down, 72 to 50, emergency cooling. The furnace shut off. Intake vents opened. Outside, winter pressed against the structure like a predator. "They'll feel it in 20 minutes, I said. Ruiz watched silently, but I wasn't finished. At 2 in the morning, when exhaustion and greed had settled in deep, I triggered the lights. Not randomly. Patterned. Short, short, long, 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 short, short. SOS. Evan froze on the couch, blanket pulled tight around him. "Did you see that?" he whispered. Lena didn't answer. Then I routed audio through the master bedroom speakers. Footsteps, slow, heavy, uneven. My footsteps. The sound I'd recorded years ago testing the floor load sensors. Thump, thump, thump. Evan bolted upright. "That's him," he said, his voice cracking. "That's how he walked. Remember his knee?" "Stop," Lena snapped, but her eyes darted toward the hallway. "It's just the house settling." "Houses don't walk," Evan said. "Fear dissolves loyalty fast." The drilling stopped shortly after. The men finally cracked the safe. I leaned forward. Inside was exactly what I left. One envelope. Evan recognized my handwriting instantly. His hands shook as he read. I saw it in his face before I heard the sob. He collapsed into my chair, shoulders folding inward. Lena ripped the letter from his hands and tore it apart. "He's manipulating you," she said. "He's dead." But Evan knew. He had always known. That was when my phone buzzed. Another transfer alert. Not Evan. Not Lena. Someone else. Someone with access I hadn't expected to see used yet. I stared at the name and felt something colder than betrayal move through me. This wasn't a family problem anymore. This was a coordinated extraction. I handed the tablet back to Ruiz. "They think they've taken everything," I said. "Now we let them finish hanging themselves." The next morning came with silence. No calls, no messages, just one notification. The transfer had cleared. I imagined the rush, the relief, the illusion of safety. And right on schedule, Lena left the house dressed like victory. Ruiz tracked her car. Marina, luxury broker. She didn't hesitate. Signed papers, wired deposits she didn't actually possess yet, committed herself to penalties that would eat her alive once reality arrived. "She's bleeding," Ruiz muttered. "Yes," I said, "and she doesn't feel it yet." But greed is impatient. An hour later, motion alerts flared again. Back at my house. Different men this time. Heavier tools. "They're not looking for cash anymore," Martin said. "They're looking for control." I nodded. "They think the trust documents are hidden somewhere." "They are," Martin said carefully. "Just not where they're looking." I smiled. "Let them tear the place apart." The temperature dropped further. Frost crept along windows. Pipes groaned. They stayed anyway. Ordered food, drank wine, destroyed memories. At 2 in the morning, Lena stood in my study shivering, arms wrapped around herself. "Why is it so cold?" she snapped. Evan tried the thermostat. "It's locked." She kicked it. "Everything in this house is junk," she hissed. Just like him. I turned off the feed. Enough. The trap was set, and tomorrow, they were going to walk straight into it. Morning arrived quietly, the way disasters often do. I watched dawn bleed pale gray into the skyline from the window of the van parked 3 blocks from my house. Steam rose from manholes. The city woke up unaware that 2 lives were about to collapse under their own weight. Ruiz sat beside me, coffee untouched. Martin checked his watch. "They took the bait," he said. "Both of them." I didn't respond. I was listening. Through the live audio feed piped into my earpiece, I could hear Evan pacing inside the house, his footsteps uneven, frantic. Lena's voice cut through sharply, controlled but tight at the edges. "The money cleared," she said. "I saw it. It was there." "And now it's gone," Evan replied, his voice breaking. "The account's frozen. I just got the alert." Silence followed, the kind that swells before a scream. "That's impossible," Lena said finally. "That transfer was legal. We used the power of attorney." "Then why does it say fraud?" Evan shouted. "Why does it say contact account holder immediately?" "Because the system finally noticed what I trained it to notice." Before they could spiral any further, Lena's phone rang. I leaned forward instinctively. She answered. "Yes?" Her confidence faltered with each passing second. No, that's not right. There must be a mistake." I knew that voice. It was the voice of someone watching the floor disappear beneath them. "I understand what the contract says," she snapped. "But the funds are temporarily unavailable. You can't penalize us for—" She stopped speaking, her face drained of color. She lowered the phone slowly. "What?" Evan whispered. "They sold the yacht," she said, "and they're enforcing the penalty clause." "How much?" 150,000. Evan made a sound that wasn't quite human. "That's more than we have." Lena's eyes darted around the room, calculating, panicking. "We'll fix it. We just need to get to your father." That was my cue. Ruiz nodded and made the call. I listened as my son answered, breathless, desperate. "Mr. Evan Monroe," Ruiz said smoothly, now wearing the voice of an overworked public defender. "This is Robert Hale. I've been assigned to represent your father." Evan froze. I could hear it in the sudden stillness. "Is he alive?" Evan asked. "Yes," Ruiz replied. "Barely." I closed my eyes. "He's confused, disoriented. He keeps asking for you." Lena grabbed the phone from Evan. "Where is he?" "Federal holding facility," Ruiz said. "Charges pending. Asset freeze imminent." Lena's breath quickened. "We need to see him, immediately." "There's a window," Ruiz said. "Courthouse, 9 a.m., room 304. Brief supervised visit." Bring any documents he needs to sign. Once the freeze hits, it's over. We'll be there, Evan said quickly. We'll be there early. The line went dead. Martin looked at me. They're running straight to the courthouse. Good, I said. That gives me time. We waited until their SUV disappeared down the street before we moved. The house greeted me like a stranger. The door opened easily. My own code. Still mine. Inside, the air was cold and stale. Pizza boxes stacked against walls, wine stains on the rug, ash in the fireplace where my wife's portrait once stood. I didn't linger. I went straight to the bedroom, pulled back the rug, unlocked the real safe, the one Evan never knew existed. Inside were the documents they were desperate to find, the irrevocable trust, the contingency clauses, the signatures already filed with the state years ago, the poison pill. I placed the documents neatly on the coffee table, right next to Lena's handwritten to-do list: sell the house, funeral arrangements, evidence. Then I left. By the time they arrived at the courthouse, there was nothing waiting for them but fluorescent lights and a locked door. I listened as panic set in. "Where is he?" Lena demanded. "He said 9, Evan replied, his voice cracking. They called, numbers disconnected. Then both their phones pinged at once. The fraud alert finalized. The transfer reversed. The account frozen. Lena screamed. Moments later, another call came through. The yacht broker. Legal notice. Demand for payment. Evan collapsed into a plastic chair. And then my final message hit. An email sent from my account. Emergency board meeting. Immediate restructuring. Mandatory attendance. Signed, Caleb Monroe. "He's not detained," Evan whispered. "He's free." Lena's face twisted in terror. They ran, back to the house, but the locks didn't recognize them anymore. Access denied. They pounded, kicked, screamed. From the van I watched them through the security feed, and inside on the coffee table sat a single porcelain teacup, steam rising. Evan saw it first. "He's here," he whispered. "No," Lena said. "He can't be." The sirens arrived seconds later, this time real ones. I stepped inside as officers flooded the room, not in handcuffs, not confused, standing tall. Evan collapsed at the sight of me. Lena tried to speak, tried to accuse, tried to redirect, but the evidence spoke louder. The pills, the itinerary, the forged documents, the audio recordings, the financial trail. She tried one last move, a forged medical evaluation declaring me incompetent. I smiled when she waved it, because that paper triggered the final clause, the one she never read. By attempting to declare me unfit, she dissolved the trust. Every asset transferred automatically, not to Evan, not to Lena, to charity, veterans, elder protection funds, legal aid. Everything they tried to steal vanished in a keystroke. Lena screamed, Evan cried, the handcuffs clicked. Later, when Evan begged me to intervene, I looked at him calmly. "You thought I was weak because I trusted you," I said. "But trust is not blindness, and love is not stupidity." He was led away. Lena spat curses until the door closed behind her. The house fell silent. I turned the heat back on. Months later, I sold the house, left the city, and started over. Not rich, but free. If there's one thing I learned, it's this. The most dangerous mistake you can make is assuming the old man has nothing left to protect. Because sometimes, he's been protecting everyone else all along. If you enjoyed this story, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you're listening at night, set your thermostat the way you like it. No one else gets a vote.